Is this the end of Western civilization as we know it? Well, according to Twitter and a drag queen performance at a Catholic school, it just might be. There's been a plethora of story time being read by drag queens since Pride Month, but this one takes the kicker. In this video, we'll be reacting to this clip in all of its glory and what you can do as a Christian to fight against the lunacy.
Ruslan.
World seems to be getting stranger and stranger, and this is no exception. New York City chapel. Apparently, this is either a Catholic or an Episcopalian church. I'm not quite sure. It's being reported as a Catholic school where they decided, in order to be inclusive and to represent all sorts of points of views, that they would have a performance of sorts by this gentleman. So we're gonna play this clip for you guys. I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts and some other stuff I dig up on this, and then we'll be giving you some practical tips on how you can gear up. All right, check this out. By the way, the name Brita Filter. That's what that gets.
And she is the queen of New York.
I think Tekashi 6ix9ine will feel a way about that title. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Full on strut. So what is going on? So apparently this is an attempt to be inclusive in this context. I found this article about it. This is from CBN. There's not a whole lot being reported on this, ironically enough. The video shows the Queen being introduced as the Queen of New York as he struts down the chapel main dressed in blue and orange dress. I could see Lizzo pulling this outfit off. Wearing makeup and red wig, congregants on both sides raised to their feet, applauding and cheering for the decadent display. Evangelist and then Sean Fush, I don't know how you say his name, definitely had something to say about this. And so this is other things that are happening like this. In June, the Park Church in Elmira, New York, celebrated the month by hosting queens at its Sunday service called Worship is Drag. It's mind-blowing that this is still happening despite the backlash that these situations get. I don't understand if these situations keep getting backlash. If you are sending your kids to a private Catholic school, maybe you aren't a practicing Catholic yourself, but at the very least, I would think that the parents who are sending their kids to the school are going to be like, hey, maybe I don't want to participate in this anymore. How is this not impact? I'm an optimistic person when it comes to people sometimes, but this makes me extremely pessimistic, if I'm honest with you. Apparently, they went on to dance and perform. I didn't get clips of that yet, but that's another type of situation. So I believe anything outside of the confines of a one woman marriage is outside of God's heart and intent for pleasure in that regard. So that's my position. Yet, if you are an Episcopalian, if you're a Catholic, again, convoluted on where this actually happened, the information is still coming out. If this is happening in a situation where this is a church, my question would just be quite simply, where is that line between saying, hey, I want to do what I want to do for my own fulfillment, and this is who I am on the inside, I'm drag, I'm trans, I'm whatever, right? There's a difference between that and then saying, like, I want to go into spaces that are generally not affirming of these things so that it could be disruptive and I could break the internet. Okay, my question is, where's that line between activism and tolerance? You want people to respect you, honor you, give you dignity as a person. Respect, I understand, okay? I don't think folks from that community should be harmed. I don't think anything negative should happen to them with regards to their physical, bodily health, right? Generally speaking, I think folks should be doing whatever they want to do. With the caveat that you aren't trying to go into spaces and confuse children that are impressionable with this sort of stuff, all right? And this is that line between, hey, I am a fill in the blank part of this lifestyle versus I'm fill in the blank of this lifestyle and I'm going to call your church and try to get your pastor, who I know is not affirming of my lifestyle, to marry me, right? To bake a cake, to let me read story hour, right? So that's the part where I just get confused. And if these are the types of churches that are a part of this, apparently from what I'm gathering as the information keeps coming in, even from this article, apparently it is an Episcopalian, not a Catholic church. So apologies to the Catholics out here. Is the denomination just that far gone? Or are they are they completely checked out? I have so many questions with regards to this entire situation, okay? That I don't know how to process this. Now, I will say that I don't believe this is indicative of all churches. I will say this isn't indicative of most churches, the majority of churches. This is, in my opinion, happening on very fringe ends of the spectrum if we're talking theology. But what's happening is, from an educational standpoint, we are seeing this sort of stuff being, I don't want to say pushed, but definitely an agenda to get this sort of stuff in front of children. And that's why a lot of this stuff starts getting conflated. If you're talking about, hey, we want to prevent these sorts of conversations with kindergartners through third grade, they flip it and turn it into a don't say X, Y, and Z bill, right? And it's like, come on, fam. Like, we should be okay to say, look, you as an American have the right to do whatever you want to do in the privacy of your own home, right? With the caveat that it's not directly hurting people. But when you exchange it, so now you want this representation in schools, in government, in churches, in denominations, in camps where this isn't celebrated, I think that's where it bleeds into activism and not into just most people's view of what the scriptures clearly say per Romans chapter 1. All right. And I think that's the issue. And another issue with all this is what's going to happen is they're going to take situations like this and they're going to say, unless you affirm what I'm doing and what I believe, you are a phobic. You have a phobia. Okay, which is also nonsensical. If you actually look up what the definition of a phobia is a fear of something. My wife has a phobia of animals. Okay, that means that when an animal enters a room she is in, she will jump up on a table, she will jump on a chair, she freaks out, she's jumped up on cars. That's a real phobia. Okay, that's a real phobia. If someone's saying, listen, like, I don't think this should be presented to kids as the same as a nuclear family, I think there's something wrong about that. That's not a phobia, fam. That's just, I don't think this is congruent with the type of values I want my children to grow up in. So the question goes to you, me, Christian, how do we navigate these sorts of conversations? How do we navigate in this culture where we're going to see this more and more, especially if you're in the coastal states like New York and California? I'm in Southern California. Big shocker. What I think the solution is, in my opinion, is I think we build our lives in a way where we could be autonomous of needing to participate in these sorts of systems and environments if they cross that line. Because I don't believe that all schools everywhere are doing this. I believe these are certain schools in certain districts with certain loony activists that are pushing this sort of stuff. Now, if you're in a district with a school where they have this sort of stuff in the curriculum, you're going to have to figure out some life choices and life decisions. You're going to have to figure out with how do I build my life in a way where if I could step out, I could pull my kids out of school, I have the option of doing that, right? And so every school district is going to be different. Every state is going to be different. Every school. But you should be building your lives in a way where if you want children and you have children, that you can take them home. You could homeschool them if you choose to do so. You have the means to have one parent in the household. You have the means to private school or co-op school. And that's what we do, because I'm not going to have my son going to these types of environments where this is presented as normative or equal. Yes, they exist. Absolutely. This is not me saying that folks from the trans community, LGBT community don't exist. They clearly exist. We acknowledge that. What is different about these sorts of situations is we're saying they exist and you need to affirm it. See, love doesn't require affirmation. That's one of the biggest lies about our current culture, is that in order for me to love you, in order for me to extend dignity to you, to extend grace to you, extend mercy to you, extend compassion to you, I have to affirm everything about you. And that's just nonsensical, and it's not true in any other part of our day-to-day life. So if you're a follower of Jesus and you're like, yo, I don't know about all this stuff, right? And especially if you're in a blue state like I am. And by blue state, I'm not even talking on Democrat. I'm just talking about like Governor Newsom has this weird bent on some of this stuff. We're not rocking with the public school system, right? I'm not doing it. We're not participating, right? Build your life, especially if you're young and you're single and you're still starting out your life. Start thinking about what are those scarce skills that I have? What are my hard skills? What are my soft skills? What am I doing in terms of building my relationship? How am I a utility to people, right? How am I useful to people? How can I be of value to people, to my current employer, so that eventually I can earn more money, so that eventually I could get married, have a family, and allow my spouse the opportunity, speaking to men specifically, allow my wife the opportunity to stay home and raise the kids if that's what's best for our family. These are the types of things that when I talk about building culture, I don't think we're thinking about it, because some of you guys think building culture is like tennis shoes and an Apple Watch and rap music, right? Culture is much deeper than that. Culture is way deeper than how you dress or the type of music you into, or if you're doing a keto or a paleo diet. Culture is how are you building your life and who's going to be with your kids the majority of the time? Who's going to be running your home? Who's going to be doing the teaching? Because everyone is trying to teach you and indoctrinate you into something. I know that sounds great. Oh, the Christians said that. Everyone's trying to indoctrinate you into something. The question is, who's going to be in charge? You or the government? Your family? Or the school district? Who's going to be in charge of these things? So again, man, if you're in a situation, to find a situation, start creating pathways to get out of these sorts of situations. If you're in a school district in a state where this stuff's going to be happening, you need to figure out a way to get out of debt. You need to figure out a way to maybe even move. You need to figure out a way to earn enough where one spouse can stay home when you guys have kids. You got to start thinking about these things now. You really got to start thinking about these things now, because this is only going to get worse. I hate to say it. I don't want to be the doomsday guy. This is only going to get worse. But the optimist in me says, historically, culture has been built top down. What is happening from celebrities and politicians and the media, top down, mainstream media. Now, culture is being built bottom up. Now, we can build culture as we want to. We can say, hey, we value co-op homeschooling. And by the way, my child will outperform any public school kid on any level. And like, I have the actual qualified testing to show you this, right? And so we're building culture from the bottom up to say, we're not going to be like the world. We're not going to participate in this nonsense. We're going to be different. We're going to be a peculiar people. We're going to be a set apart people. These are the things I really hope that we all grasp onto, and why financial literacy matters, why getting out of debt matters, why being in a place where you have scarce skills, soft skills, good relationships, good network of people, why these things matter. Some of you guys are of so heavenly value and so heavenly minded that you have no earthly good, that you have no desire to build culture in a way where we can sway the macro sense by building up clearly a proof of concept. This is different. We are different. We are set apart. We live different. And by the way, we're flourishing. We're thriving. God is good. My family's good. We're healthy. Everyone is doing good. And granted, I'm not talking about a prosperity gospel where if you do A, B, and C, you will be blessed. I'm talking about how are we building our lives? Are we building it on the wisdom of God, or are we building it on the wisdom of man? Those are my thoughts on this situation. If you guys want to see some of my other thoughts about this kind of stuff coming up, I'll post a video here or another video from me and YouTube recommended to you. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.